Hello, everyone, and welcome to Power Hour. I'm Laura Rogers, and this is Joelle Jobson. And today's topic is going to be the SharePoint file viewer web part. We're going to talk about some options that you have, what you can do with it, what the purpose is, some little nuances about it, and we'll all be doing this on a SharePoint page. So if you're new to Power Hour is where we meet on Wednesdays at 11 Central. We've been doing this for about 9 years, maybe almost 10 years, and we talk about topics that are relevant to business users in Microsoft 365. We are not developers. We don't go into anything super technical, but we go into anything in Microsoft 365 like SharePoint, Power Apps, Power Automate, Teams, Microsoft Forms, Planner, just all those apps that are part of Microsoft 365. So power users, business users, this is your place. So you all voted. We have a newsletter that I send out the day before, and you all vote on a topic. So the topic that we voted on is the file viewer web part, and that's in SharePoint. And another fun thing about Power Hour is that we are collaborating. We're chatting in Teams during Power Hour. So wherever you are watching this, you'll have a link to be able to fill out a form to request to join, because we have to invite each of you to Power Hour. But once you're in Teams, the fun thing about that is that you can chat with us. And also we have this environment. This is a SharePoint site that you all have access to, where I'm going to be building these pages with web parts, and you can actually go in there and click on them while you're in Power Hour and see what I'm doing. So first of all, I'll go ahead and put the link in the chat, just in case you're in Teams and not sure how to get to the SharePoint site. I'll just put that in there, and then I'll go ahead and share my screen. And that is going to be, let's see, this site, the funny thing about this site, it's kind of ugly because every time we have Power Hour demos, we keep adding random things to it. And like this honeycomb, this is something that we did in one of the Power Hours. So it's kind of got this conglomeration of demo things that we do during Power Hour. So it's not the most lovely. It's kind of like Franken-site. So this is where we're going to be doing the demo. So I'll go ahead and show you. I already created a page that's got a few file viewer web parts on it, but I'll just go ahead and show you from scratch what it looks like to create a page on your site and add the file viewer web part to it. And the point of the file viewer web part is to view a file. Now I'll go ahead and click new and choose page. I'll just create a blank page. And then, so you're wondering what the purpose of the file viewer web part is. I'll just say demo. And it's really if you have something prominent to display. And well, get rid of this one that was here. And if you want it to, like if you have a file that's really important and you want everybody to see it in a very obvious place, like on your home page, or like if you have an earnings report, like a Word document or a PDF, and you just want people to always see that front and center, that's why you would use the file viewer web part. So I'll go ahead and just save this draft real quick. So if I'm on my home page and I want to see just documents and read documents, I can just go to any library anytime. So this, without using the file web part, of course, I can just go open up files. And when I click on a file, it opens it in another tab. And that's how I can go look at files. So anybody can do that by just clicking on a library and viewing files. So the file viewer web part, though, is going to be if you want to have the file like show and take up your whole page. So you're not going to put every single file in a file. That is not necessary. It's really just going to be this sort of more prominent files that you, because that's a lot of work. I mean, because just to get files in SharePoint for people to just open them up, you just dump them all here in the library and then people go look at what the file they want. So it is a few extra clicks. It's some extra work to be able to go create this special page or edit the home page and start adding all these file viewer web parts. So this is not something that definitely not something you have to do for every file. So I'm going to go back to this file that I just created in Site Pages. I didn't publish it yet. It's just my file viewer demo right here. And so all I've done so far is just create the page. So now that I've kind of giving you the gist of reasons why you would want to use the file viewer web part, now let's talk about putting it on a page and then, how to use it. So just want to be clear so that you don't think that, if you're brand new to SharePoint, I don't want you to think that you have to use the file viewer web part to view every file that you have, because that would be a huge waste of time to go put them all on the pages. Okay, so so when I click this little plus to add a web part, I can just start typing like this, file viewer. And once I use it a few times, it will show in, like I've been adding a bunch of them, you can see it in frequently used. So I have it right here. So no matter what type of file that I have, whether it's Word or Excel or PDF, any of those, I just use the file viewer web part. Now, I don't think it's necessarily going to work for some obscure file types. So there are definitely a certain set of file types that it's going to work with, the more common ones, especially the Office ones. But I'll go ahead and click File Viewer. Okay, so once you click File Viewer, then you're presented with what file that you want to view. So it's, of course, going to show me some recent files. So these are files that I've been recently working with in this site. But if I don't have any, the file that I need isn't necessarily listed in recent documents, I can just go to Site here. So in this case, I created a document library and just uploaded a bunch of files to this library called Demo Content. But you can just go to any library on your site and pick which file that you want, or you can even use your OneDrive. So there's my OneDrive. You can even, I'm pretty sure you can even show videos in the file viewer web part. We can try that too. I'm not sure why there's a Star Wars video in here or what that was from. I'll go to Site, Demo Content, and I'll just do, let's see, 20 years of research, and select that file. And there's my Word document on the page. And so let's go. Now, something to note is that different file types that you're viewing here will have different settings over on the right. So this one is, it knows that it's a Word document and it's just saying which page do you want to start on. So if I say I want to start on page 2, then when people open this, go to this page, it's immediately going to be already scrolled down to page 2 of this document. So if you have something important lower down in the document, that's one place that you can immediately make sure that people are seeing that. Okay, so that's a Word document, and I'm just going to scroll down the page and just add another file viewer. And we'll do a different type of file this time. We'll do quarterly costs. Actually, let's do, I'll do Excel in a minute. Let's do PowerPoint. And PowerPoint's going to be very similar to the way a Word document works. Instead of starting on which page you want to start on, it's going to say which slide do you want to start on. So I can go, say start on slide 3, and then I can even just change my file later if I want to point to a different file. So Joelle, this is another reason, I've seen people in SharePoint, I don't know if they still do it, but a long time ago, people were still used to file shares. They would go into SharePoint, they would work on a file, and then they'd change the file name and call it project document version 2, and they changed the file name, and then project document version 3, and then you had this whole library full of people just changing the file name and putting the version number or something, but it's really the same file. But over the years, people came to realize that versioning is built in to SharePoint. You don't have to do that. You don't have to keep renaming your file. So this is another reason that if you're prominently displaying your file somewhere in SharePoint, and you go create another file and change it to a different name, like this is not going to dynamically change to the other file. So that's a good reason, another reason why you want to just keep editing the same file and just have that one file be the one version of the truth, right? And as we're going, you guys feel free to ask questions in the chat too. So yeah, just let me know if you have any opinions about this. If are people still doing that? I'm not sure. Okay, so now that we've got a couple of different files, let's go. Another one is a PDF. So I'll just go to this annual marketing report. It's a PDF. And then let's see what that looks like. That has got the same concept of just what is your start page. Okay, then here's where the magic happens. Are you ready for this? You've got the ability to do Excel. Now remember the Excel viewer web part, Joelle? Does anybody remember that? People are wondering where that web part went in SharePoint Online. Well, look at this. Here is the file viewer is what you'd use to view your Excel files. So we got a lot we can unpack here. So let me go ahead and I'll just publish this page and look at it as an end user and kind of discuss I'll add this page to the navigation. If you all are on this site, you can go click and take a look at it. So now I'm viewing this page as an end user. I'm on this site. I can click the name of this page I created, and I can see this document. It's starting at the page that I told it to. And then I have this PowerPoint presentation that already went to slide 3. And I can also go forward in the slides. Just as an end user, I can flip through the slides really quickly. And then it gives the end user a couple of other things they can do on these. They can just click this little full screen. So when I do that, it doesn't navigate me away. It just basically maximizes that file to look at it full screen. And then it gives me this, look at this, this is cool. So I'm looking at a Word document. This is the bottom right of that Word document in the web part. It's immediately got this print to PDF. I can download a copy. So that's really nice to be able to just quickly print that straight to a PDF just from looking at it on the page. That's a bonus. And then can I do those same things with the slides? I can print that to a PDF too. And then let's see. Here I go. This one is a PDF, so it's already a PDF. It's going to have a little different interface. This is going to look more like sort of the Adobe interface where you just can zoom and search and scroll through it and things like that. Slightly different. And then here is my Excel web part where I can just click through the spreadsheet like I would normally do, but I have a few other things I'll show you with that. So let's see what we've got first of all down here. This is a download. I've got the ability to refresh all data connections. So if I've got any old school, I'm doing any kind of fancy data connections inside of Excel. I say old school because most people use Power BI when they're doing things like that nowadays, I'm pretty sure. And then I also have tell Microsoft your thoughts. And then this is just like some embed information. And then this one is the full size version. But okay, so as the person who creates this page, maybe they just want, out of all this stuff in this spreadsheet, maybe they just want to highlight something very specific. They don't want to have the whole spreadsheet just for everybody to peruse through displayed here. They just want to point out something specific. So this doesn't have anything to do with permissions, what I'm about to show you. It just has to do with what you want to be prominent. You don't want people to have to dig through it for something. You want to show them something specific. So in my web part settings, I'll go to this little pencil and oops, that's the file viewer. Hold on. This one. Okay, so I've got a few options here. I can choose to, can you see that okay? Let me see if I need to zoom in on that. I'll just zoom in a little bit. Okay, I can choose show grid lines or not, show row and column headers, allow sorting and filtering columns. So right now it's allowing all this interactivity, but I can take all those things away and then take a look at it real quick. And now look at it. It doesn't have, it was kind of messy around the edges with the column headers and stuff like that. And now it's just very plain. So I can click through it, but I don't have that sort of menu at the top with the ability to, filter and sort and see the rows and columns, and also all the grid lines are hidden. Okay, back into edit mode. And back down to my, I'll probably just delete some of these other ones. this because I'm mostly just showing the Excel one right now. This is not going to be a full hour, I'm pretty sure. Okay, yeah, there we go. Now let's go back to the web part settings and look at this. So I don't have to show the entire workbook. I can show just one specific chart, table, or range. Unfortunately, I do need to know the name of my chart before I can do that. So I need to know the name of the chart, and I need to just be able to type it in here. So in Excel, how in the world am I going to know the name of my chart? So let's see, what is the name of this file first? Let me go ahead and click apply. Well, I click apply, but I pick chart and I didn't pick one yet. And it even says, how do I find the name of a chart or table? And it has instructions that it is going to take me to directly from here. So the file that I've currently got showing, it will let me change the file. It's not what I want to do. I want to just go into the file and find what the quarterly costs are. So this file is called, let me go see what I called it. This one's called quarterly costs. Now, the thing that I'm about to do, I don't think that you can do this in just the web version to be able to go look at what things are called. Let me double check. They could have changed that since then. But let's see. Design versus content right here is the name. You can see it over here. I'm pretty sure that's the name of the chart. Let me go click on a different one. Shelf impact. Yeah, see, shelf impact chart. It's kind of cut off here. Let me see if I can zoom out in my browser and see if I can just see that a little bit. Let me see. It doesn't really change the font, does it? Shelf impact chart, I'm pretty sure is what that's called. And then this one over here. That is not a chart. That is a chart, and that is a chart. So design versus content, shelf impact. I have content versus design. So I can click through here and get what the names of my charts are. This one's called historical costs. So let me just grab historical costs since I can see the full name of it here, and I'm going to use that in my web part. All right, look at that. So now I typed just the specific name of something, and let me see. Is that the same thing? Let me see. Oh, that's this over here. That's this range right here. Huh. What is that? Historical costs. Did I choose? Hold on, let me see what I chose in my settings. Chart, table, range. I'll have to go look in. I guess that thinks that's the name of that chart, but I did type historical costs in here. And the idea that I wanted to show you is that it's showing me something very specific in this web part. So if you have a spreadsheet and you want to be able to highlight something very specific in it, then you can go pick that specific thing over here and be able to just type the name of it. So the key is that you have to know the name. Let's go dig into this thing and go open it in the desktop app and see if I can do that. Hopefully my Microsoft Office on my computer won't be too confused because this is a different tenant that I'm opening it from, but I think I'm good. Okay, so if you really want to be able to dig in to your spreadsheet and figure out what the different names of things are, this is where they are. You can click on each thing, but you can also go to, I think it was name manager. Now this is grayed out. Let's see, because thinks it's in some kind of read-only mode, but the name manager in Excel is where it actually will just have a full list of all the names of all those things in your spreadsheet. So yeah, so that's the idea, is that you can have an entire range like this that you selected and named over here at the top left. See where my cursor is? It's kind of under Joelle. I'm not going to have an entire Excel lesson right now, but all the different things that you've named in your spreadsheet, you can display in the file viewer web part. So one thing you can do, and one thing I've seen people do, is instead of just presenting the entire spreadsheet, you can actually put several of these down the page. So you can insert several different file viewer web parts going down the page, and then have each, even if it's the same spreadsheet that you're pointing to, you can have each file viewer web part highlighting a different portion of that spreadsheet. So you're sort of spoon feeding people and you're showing them this sort of maybe like a dashboard of, here's this specific chart, and you can put some verbiage on your SharePoint page. Here's this other table, and you can type some verbiage. So you could add descriptions to each of these, like this is the marketing data, blah, blah, blah. You can add descriptions to them, and you can also just put the text web part in between them. So you can have a lot of very descriptive information in between your spreadsheets, and that's a way to create a nice, pretty dashboard that has, you know, some important numbers that you want to display to people. What do you all think? I feel like we used to do this a lot more with the Excel web access web part, and maybe people, it's sort of little known with this one. Now we've got another cool thing that you can do with the file viewer web part. I did show this in a power hour. It was kind of a long time ago though. So it's one of those things that it's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's pretty cool. Let's go to 2 columns here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to display my document library on one side, and then I'm going to make it dynamic so that whatever file that I click in the library, that's the file that it's going to show on the page. So that gives people kind of a fast way of being able to click through things and view them without having to open them all up in separate windows. So the way you do that is a little tricky. So I have to go add a web part to this left side. Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry. Move that up here. My little plus. There we go. File viewer. And the trick to being able to make the file viewer dynamic is that when you insert the web part, you have to click cancel. So don't pick a file here. So then it's just empty. So then when your file is empty and you go to your web part settings, then again, very obscure, you have to go this little ellipsis and choose connect to source. And that is where we're creating this. We used to call them web part connections. And we're creating a connection between, and you pick which library that you're displaying on the page that I already added. And then you just say, I want to connect to this. And then, so whatever, I'll republish it. Whatever file that I click on, that's the one that I'll be displaying in the web part. So watch this. The unfortunate part about this is that I have to click the checkbox. So if I just go click a file name like this, it's just going to open it in another tab. So that's kind of annoying. But the user would have to click uncheck and click the next checkbox. Is that kind of annoying? What do you all think? And then let Word render for a second, and then uncheck that. And let's see, that one's a little faster, a smaller file. And then that one. And you can't, if you check multiple ones, you have to uncheck the other one that you checked. So that's kind of a pain. But then here's my spreadsheet. So that's how you can make it dynamic. And now with this web part, something that I might want to do is I might want to make it a little more simple, make the web part itself more simple so that I don't, maybe people won't intend on clicking the file name. I want to make it so they can't click on the file name. That is something additional that I can do. So let's go ahead, and one thing I can do is just go to compact list. That doesn't really get me what I want. That's not compact enough. I'm going to go ahead and go to that library, and I'm just going to create another view. So I can click see all to take me to that whole library, and then I'm going to create another view. So I'm going to go ahead and just do save view as, and I'll call it simple. And then in this view, I'm going to show hide columns, and I'm going to remove just anything extraneous. Modified and modified by, I really just want the names of the files. And then maybe I don't, let's see, I don't want the name to be clickable. So I think this is something that I have to do sort of in that old school view editing interface. So instead of name linked to document with edit menu, I'm just going to try using name, just name like that. And then maybe I want to sort them by maybe the most recent ones on top, modified. And I'm not filtering it. I'm just going to click OK. Okay, so now I have this very simple view. And now when I go back to my, let's see, where was that page that I was working on? Let's see, File Viewer Demo. Edit my page. And in the web part settings for the document library, of course, I could change what the document library is, but here's where I can just change it to simple. And then I can even say, hide the command bar, hide the See All button. I'm not doing any dynamic filtering. I'm not filtering the list of files. So now let's see what that looks like. I could actually expand that a little. And then look, it's still clickable though, Joelle. It says name and it says it's not the clickable one. That I think Microsoft, they just put it in there everywhere. Like you can't just have a name column that's not clickable anymore. But at least it doesn't have, I mean, it seems like it's a little more simple. It still has the ellipsis though. So people can still kind of do all these other actions on it. But I did get rid of all the extraneous, like the menus and things all around it to make it more simple. All right, what do you all think? This was a very, like I mentioned, this could be the power half hour because the file viewer web part is so simple. But the main takeaways about the file viewer web part is that obviously it can let you view a file, but there are two extra things that you can do with the file viewer web part that may not have been obvious. And the first one is that with a spreadsheet, you can make it show specific parts of the spreadsheet. And with a document library on the same page as a file viewer web part, you can make the file viewer web part dynamically display whichever file name that you click next to. And that's pretty much it. All right. So I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I want to go ahead and share our schedule with you so you can see when the next power hours are coming up. So next week, September 14th, we have another power hour. And then the week after that, I'm actually going to be speaking at a conference called Tech, the Experts Conference in Atlanta. I'd love for you to come there and see me present about building an approval process in Power Apps. And then the week after that, we have our office hours meeting that we hold for our Ultimate members. That's like a more of an intimate kind of talk through things and answer questions. And then the week of September 26th is our interactive Advanced Power Apps and Advanced Power Automate class all week that week. So we won't be having Power Hour. All right. That is going to wrap it up for today. Thanks, Joelle. Thanks everybody for watching. See you next time.